Yo, Takahai, Moboika, Maboika, Ituno, Kina, Atiaono. Welcome, sisters and brothers. Yo, here I am from the desk of Silos Congas, right here. Remember, like a button, smash that like button, just so that we can, beat those algorithms. And hopefully this, message to be heard. You know what I'm saying? A a research um, the research that I decided to embark in, again, because of the healing process. You know what I'm saying? We're going to speak about the solar plexus and the solar center. And so the healing process, healing also has to do with healing your body, also has a lot to do with healing your soul and your spirit, your character, personality. Because remember, your spirit, which is your character and personality, could drive your body and your mind to do certain things. You know what I'm saying? Because if you take in bad character or bad personality, the outcome is going to be you are going to be engaged in bad, attributes, or harmful scenarios or harmful attributes towards yourself. You know what I'm saying? As far as eating habits, you know. And so the character and personality, when we speak about how can we purify that, purify the spirit. And that's what we're going to get into when we speak about this particular energy center called the solar energy center. Named solar because of the the appearance of the gray matter and white matter. It shoots out like the rays of the sun right here, right beneath your heart. Right beneath where your ribs connect meet. Your rib cages. Right there, it's called the gut feeling. I remember in the podcast before this when we spoke about the gut having neurons. It has gray matter. It has these electrical neurons that send messages to your heart, and that send messages also to the mind. So you got these three organs here that are powered by these neurons, high concentrated, more concentrated neurons, because it runs throughout your body, electricity, and neuron, but it's more concentrated on these particular organs, like the solar plexus, the heart, and the brain. So, spirit again, character, personality, the outlook of things, right? You can see a spirit in something by this outlook, its attribute, its character, and personality. And so sometimes we receive, a lot of how would I say, a lot of influences, outside influence that can affect our spirit, affect our character, personality. You see, we have one, we acquire one as we get older and it gets stronger, and then we also are influenced by other characters and personality, be it genetics, being the family, or being outside, your peers, and so and so and so. Now the power. Now remember, when we speak about these energy centers, and what are we doing is we're taking the ball of light, the consciousness, and we're placing it right in the solar plexus so they can light up that solar plexus. So we bring in an awareness into this particular energy center. You know, now this energy center is responsible for purification. That is the enlightenment self. When you start moving up and looking at these energy center and in the enlightened self. Remember, we have the light, the shadow, and then we have the enlightened self. We're looking at this particular energy center. We're looking at the darkness of it in order to create uh, power and scenario, power and will, because the solar plexus deals a lot with power and will. Um, so when we put the awareness on that particular energy center on this solar plexus, it casts a shadow. Remember, we put the awareness, the light, it'll cast a shadow of shame. Shame is the shadow self. It's what can, in ways, shame can teach you about what you need in your life to strengthen. You know what I'm saying? You could be shamed in a certain way, so then you take that shame and you try to straighten it with light. You know what I'm saying? Or the enlightenment self. When you start purifying yourself, then you start cutting out that shame. You get to balance the shame, and you get to balance that will, that power, that will that wants you to self-esteem and ego. Remember, ego, energy on the go. It's on the go. That's that ego. It doesn't have any really purpose. It doesn't have any boundaries or anything like that. You know, so it's on the go. Okay, the ego. Um, so this will, the self-esteem, is the light self. The shadow that it casts is the shame. And then the enlightened self is where you have to engage in purification. Now, what I mean by purification? Um, Purification is the removal of impure elements from something. In this case, we'll look at these impure elements that we find within our will, in our lives, in our self-esteem, things that can damage our self-esteem. After purification, like water is safe to drink after purification. Some filters do a purification of the air to reduce allergens. In some religions, some spirituality, purification, the removal of sin, which is another type of cleansing. So, in the solar plexus, we have to be able to cleanse ourselves of certain shame that we might have acquired in order to harness that self-esteem, or that willpower. Because remember, we spoke we spoke when I spoke about this, I think a couple of weeks ago, when we were at the solar plexus, about how martial art teaches you how to strengthen the solar plexus, and yoga and exercising, and strengthening, and breathing exercise, strengthening to strengthen your character, your spirit, your character, personality, to strengthen that. That's all done here in the solar plexus. Okay. Now, shame, the shadow. I mean, there are movies, there are lyrics and music that talk about this shame. Because remember, there are people that manipulate the shadow self, so they amplify that. You know what I'm saying? That's amplifying the shadow self. That's amplifying the lunar energy. That's the shadow. That's the lesser light that's cast by that stronger light, which is ego and self-esteem. So there's, let me bring up my notes here real quickly. Sorry. So here's purification. This harness here. That's the enlightenment self. This energy center is where your power comes from. When you breathe, your power here, your strength, and your boundaries. You must set certain boundaries. This is where boundaries are set in this energy center. The protection, your fire, and your healing. This is it. This is where you have your relationship with yourself. So you harness these exercise, these katas, these tai chi movements. You harness this, right, as to put strength and power into your your ethereal body. Because remember, we're speaking about the etheric body now. You have the solar plexus organ in your physical body, but now this energy in the etheric body, known as the solar energy, is the part that gives you that relationship with self, you know, relationship with everything around you, you know. So when we harness this power and we get practicing and we understand the enlightenment self, this purification process, then you start having a positive outlook in life. That's the purpose for us to build, you know, to harness this power, to put this awareness, and to be aware, and to engage in practicing certain things that's going to harness that particular power and strength, you know, and it's going to help purify your body. You know, it's going to take those negative elements out of your etheric body. So having the purpose of doing this is for having a positive outlook, also for building self-esteem and a healthy personal boundaries. You can tell a weak person that is weak in this particular energy center because they don't have boundaries. They're all over the place. They don't have they're not building a healthy personal boundary. You know what I'm saying? A personal healthy boundaries. Whereas around you, your environment around you, you know what I'm saying? You're learning to have this relationship with self, because that is your environment. The self is also your environment around you. It's part of yourself, you know. So healthy personal boundaries, very important in harnessing here. This is what it'll harness. You take responsibility for yourself here, you know. You take responsibility for yourself. You start learning what it is to respond in a very healthy way, in positive way. This is all done by harnessing yourself here at this energy. You know, look at it, the etheric energy aura that you have around you. And right here at the solar plexus is where purification takes place. You want to purify all your centers. You want to clean out all those bad wounds, and you want to, you know, make more healthy choices. You want to set those healthy boundaries, personal boundaries. You know, you want to build up your self-esteem. This is where it's harnessed right here. You know? When we speak about this again, we'll go over the certain tones and the meditation that will focus on this particular energy, because remember that there are frequencies and sounds that can be used, because we are frequencies, particles, waveforms, magnetic, magic, ultramagnetic, magic, ultramagnetic particles. That's what we are. And so we also have, like they say, a terrestrial body and a celestial body. And that's the etheric body, this energy. And so we've broken it down to 9 different, there's much more centers, but we've broken it down to, I'm dealing now with the 9 energy centers. And so we're at the part of the solar. It's the purification. Getting rid of those, you know, those unwanted elements, those polluted elements in our things in our body, or things in our energy, in our environment. Get rid of those toxicity. That's another thing. You got to learn about the toxic people and how that can affect you. And so this is where you harness and you put your energy, your awareness into this energy center. And this is where it's done. This is where the work is done for you to build that self-esteem and to get those toxicity out and purify your energy center. I mean, I don't know what more to say about it. You know what I'm saying? So the good way, again, like what I spoke before, I do Tai Chi, so I first do the exercise, Tai Chi exercise, and then I'll stand and just breathe. And then I imagine these ball of energy center and I'm manipulating it. You know what I'm saying? And I'm bringing it now in a one ball. And then that's the ball that I use for the Tai Chi and start all this movement. But at the same time, I'm visualizing my energy center and my energy, because remember, these are energy fields that we have. And when you activate this energy field, you set a magic ultramagnetic impulse into your environment, into your world. Yeah. This is what becomes magnetic in you. It helps gain that magnetism, and it starts from your self-esteem. People don't want to be around people who's always on the down. You want to be people that are confident, you know, in themselves. You know, people that know have healthy boundaries, and you respect them. You say, man, they got healthy personal boundaries. That's good. I can learn from that. You know what I'm saying? There are some teachings too. That's what I'm saying. Um, dogma and doctrine. I'm not, I'm learning more about certain dogma and doctrine. Now, I grew up in a very Islamic doctrine. I grew up in a Christian doctrine, and it was revolutionary. The political doctrine with the young lords, and that whole type of revolutionary thinking that was happening in the late 60s, early 70s, and the music that was coming out, revolutionary song, OJ's, and the music was different, um, and the schooling, the professors, everybody was different. That was the norm. That was the conversation, everyday conversation. Because we entered into the revolutionary stage, which is in 1962, was the evolutionary stage set in. It started to, you started to see this revolutionary thing. Now, since we're still moving up into that stratosphere, into that sphere, that part of the galactical heavens, all that those events occurring that affects humanity in the way humanity think. Because remember, um, when we spoke about the star energy center, how it's connecting to the source, the sun, and that's connected to the multiverse. And so a lot of things that's happening now has a lot to do with what's happening in the multiverse. Just like the multiverse also dictates what happens to insects, certain animals, the animal world. So also in the human world, and in the upper world or the plant world, all of this is all what's happening in the constellation. So, at one time there was a revolutionary stage, is that everything that evolved now is revolving back into its original source, you know. And so there are doctrine that if it's aligned with that of propagating the alignment of your energy body, your humanity, aligning humanity with these magic ultramagnetic occurrence that's happening globally, internet galactically. You know what I'm saying? So there is doctrine. If a doctrine aligns itself with that, then it's all good for me. But we have to be careful, because sometimes doctrine, some people can get caught up so much into the doctrine that they, that's all you hear from them is dogma and doctrine. But as far as them connecting themselves to the source, you know what I'm saying? They're lacking. They're still participating in um, um, certain acts that are very detrimental. They haven't understood. They haven't understood. They're trying to. In other words, there's people that are trying to manipulate or amplify against the shadow self, and they rather feel comfortable knowing that because they feel that that's where they're going to get their magic from. Those that manipulate the shadow self feel that that's where they're going to gain this power from. Yeah, there's some powers that could be gained from that, but what's more powerful, the moonlight or the sunlight? And then when you get to the sunlight and the moonlight, there is a inner light within us, and that's the enlightenment self. So there's some that manipulate and amplify the idea of shame. They go out there and they want to shame people. You know, they'll set down a puppet and shame on you. You're a sinner. You're this and that. You have to repent in the name of Jesus God. Blah, blah, blah. And you do this shame on you, or bullying. You know, that's in the more innocent ways because unless a person is really conscious and they're acting like a bully because they're taking in a lot of they're listening to some satanic music, and a lot of these lyrics deal with shame and they want to shame somebody else. So in a way, that can happen. That is a certain reality in certain people. But yeah, the shaming of a person, the shame of carrying the shame within you, could be amplified. And like I said, some industry, they do that. Some industry, they go out and they, write a script and the movie and even with the music, the way the chords are the way the chords are organized and influence the music, this amplify this idea of shame. You know what I'm saying? And make movie magic and shame. And then you got the other part, which is the self-esteem and ego. You have organizations that harness self-esteem and harness the ego. You know what I'm saying? There's some spirituality, some dogma and doctrine again that attends to your self-esteem, what the positive thinking, or all that. That's the light self, and that's another magic, you know. But in the midst of that, the enlightenment self is what we call the purification. Is that I have to learn how to what? Get rid of those toxicity, get rid of those unwanted elements and purify, you know, myself, you know. But that's where the enlightenment self, you use the purification, then you offset, you overwrite, the shame, you overwrite this ego, the self-esteem. Now you're just about purification. And once I purify this particular energy in myself, in my life, and get rid of these things, then I'm able to set those healthy, again, personal boundaries. So this is the solar plexus. This is what purification is, the enlightenment self. And in purifying ourselves, we have to see what's shameful and what's ego and self-esteem on one end and what's shame on the other end. And we have to balance that and work with that. I think in the other podcast I spoke about balance. What's a well-balanced solar plexus? And a lot of times that can be done by certain practices. like meditation yoga, breathing yoga, Tai Chi is meditation, getting your mind straight and putting that energy. Remember, the neurons in your brain communicate with your heart neurons, and then they communicate with your gut. Your gut is the solar plexus that has neurons working in there, and those neurons communicate with their heart and their mind, and both, and it's just a continued communication, and only they can understand. Those organs can understand that code, that what's going on. Like I feel it in my gut. It's the solar plexus talking to you when you say, I feel it in my gut. That's the solar plexus speaking to you, saying, like, giving you impulses. Sometimes those impulses could be accurate because when it goes up to the mind and then you go into what they call intuitive sensing. Or sometimes it's just by something you ate that your gut is telling you something ain't right. Help me here. Help me here. Help me become more healthy. You sense it in your gut saying, like, wow, I don't feel well. So it's telling you, help me, you know, give me something here. It's purify, purify. All our centers have to be purified. And so we're learning the difference between what shadow self is, what the light self is, and what the enlightenment self is. And the enlightenment self is when we find darkness, because in darkness is creativity. So you have to purify your creativity, your mind, the creativity you see in your mind, the creativity you feel in your heart, the creativity that you have to purify. No. So for those who are martial artists, know, a lot of musicians that I knew also practiced the martial arts. A lot of musicians that I knew practiced it very good. I grew up with Pumpkin from the drummer for In Touch that recorded the first hip hop record with him, Funky 4 Plus or More. He was a good martial art. And I studied Hapkido. You know, I studied a little bit of Hapkido and I learned a little bit of the traditional stuff to build my self-esteem. I won't say I was a great fighter. I didn't put myself in it, but I knew that if I put my mind to it, I already had the discipline to achieve a very higher state. That discipline was there. And that's important. So you purify yourself. Purification is the enlightenment self, and that's what we have to harness. It's how to, you know, accept your shame. Listen to your shame. Accept your shame. You know what I'm saying? Balance it with your self-esteem and ego. When you want to balance that out, purify your solar plexus. Get rid of those feelings. Get rid of those wills or those toxic relationships. Have a healthy relationship with yourself. Get away from the toxic relationship. All is all toxic relationship going to do is cause you a lot of shame, a lot of guilt, a lot of fear, a lot of shame. Stay away from that. Anyway, that's all I wanted to go over. That's the solar plexus, the solar centric, and that's the enlightened self is the purification. The shadow self is the shame, and the light self is the self esteem and ego. Okay. So that's that. And peace. I'm having a wonderful experience. I'm having wonderful experiences on the day to day, wonderful experiences. And there's so much to do. So much. Just beginning. Anyway, peace and blessing. Hope you'll be well.